So here it is. Here's the box that arrived from Massachusetts from my brothers who were responsible for sorting through my mother's things after she passed in 2023. And it's a year later, and they finally were able to get through a lot of the stuff. And these were the things that my mom wanted me to have. Not exactly sure what's in the box, but here it is. Let's see. The reason I'm doing this, of course, is because I've been writing my book, The Journeyman, which chronicles my life's journey. And I'm hoping that whatever's in here is going to help with the source material to give me some clarity into the truth that I've been seeking in my own story. So let's see what's in there. This was the Bible I gave my mother when I was 16 years old with money that I earned from my paper route. It's opened up to Corinthians. That was her favorite passage in the Bible, and she loved it so much that she had a license plate made up that said Corinthians 13. And she would drive around with it. It was on the front of her car. And she said it was her way of spreading love around the world. If you're not familiar with Corinthians, it's a passage that lots of people use at their weddings. I'll read you a little bit of it. It says, love is never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is not irritable or touchy. It does not hold grudges or will hardly ever notice when others do things wrong. It is never glad about injustice and rejoices whenever truth wins out. That's really important because that's what this project is all about, truth. Finding truth, facing truth, accepting truth, and then growing from that truth into something more beautiful than what was left behind or where you came from. If you love someone, you will be loyal to them no matter what the cost. It says, you will always believe in them, always expect the best of them, and always stand your ground in defending them. And that's how I felt about my mom. I was her defender and her protector when my family broke apart under terrible circumstances. After they were married for 30 years, and she was left in ruins, really. And I had to come back from my travels to help her get back on her feet. It says, there are three things that remain when all else is lost: faith, hope, and love. But of these things, the greatest is love. And that's how she lived her life, and that's how she taught us, is to go through life loving. Try to find love even when it can't find you. So here's the Bible, Corinthians 13. How appropriate. Here's a little genealogy of my family's lineage. Timothy Donahue and Hannah Roach. It was Timothy Bernard Donahue, who's my namesake. Timothy Bernard Donahue and Hannah Roach's roots. And then it goes on to talk about my grandfather, George Donahue, who I speak about in my book as a main influence and mentor to me. And I lost him when I was 9 years old, and it was devastating, and it took me years to find new direction after his passing. So that'll be interesting. But here's the biggest thing right here. This is a manuscript that my mother wrote in 1970 after she almost died after giving birth to her 8th child in 13 years. It says, written in 1970 at 360 Arnold Street, New Bedford, Mass. Before the author was born again. Born Again was a Christian movement that she became involved with after she broke away from the Catholic Church. And the reason she did that was because she said that the priest wouldn't let her read the Bible or anybody read the Bible when she was growing up. And she wanted to know the Word of God. And she would say that. And I remember her reclaiming her liberation from the church, giving my father an ultimatum about their marriage and what she wanted in her life. And this is at the same time she started writing in earnest, and this was the first effort. Although she was a prolific letter writer her whole life, she used to do pen pals with people in the Boston Globe when she was a teenager. It says, at that time, sent to several publishers but not returned. Cost is $10 for postage, and return postage each time is sent out. Written in approximately 66 days when 2 youngest sons were 6 months old and 3 years old. I remember that my young brother wasn't even home with us yet. He was being cared for by friends because she was in the hospital for months, and then when she got out, she started writing this book like it was a calling, or she had some kind of divine inspiration to do it. And I remember dropping her off at a hotel near our home with her typewriter and a stack of paper, and off she went. And it was kind of confusing at the time, but this is what she was doing. She never got it published, but she always told me she wanted to be a published author. She did have a column in a local newspaper starting in around 1971 or 72 called The Nest, which were stories about raising her 8 kids. And she was also a staff kind of reporter there. She did other things too. And so she kind of fulfilled her desire to be published, but she never got this manuscript published. And I know it's going to be really difficult to read because of the trauma that we all suffered during those years. And I think what she wanted to do is leave that trauma on the page so she could move on and with her newly claimed life as a Christian and as an author and as an independent woman of the early 1970s. So there's a lot for a little boy to take in, but I can't wait to read this and see how it lends truth to my own story. There's a family budget book from the early days. It says 1963. My dad was meticulous about his finances and wrote everything down. He had to, because I know that he received charity from relatives, and here it is right here, $10 contribution from Aunt Nellie, which is his aunt, his Irish aunt. There's other entries here of other donations from other people as well. And he even has $16 here from the VA after he was disabled during bivouacs and remained stateside during the Korean War. Whole list of expenses there. pictures, family pictures. Sure that has some truth in it as well. These are the converted films my aunt did back in the 1990s of my grandfather's films that he was taking going all the way back to the 1930s. He was a rare man, and he was a wealthy man for the time. During the Depression and World War II, he provided a privileged upbringing for my mother and her 3 siblings. And he was a man of many, many talents. You call him a Renaissance man, and he was the man that inspired me most in my life, and I tried to emulate his energy and his view of the world. I'll be looking forward to seeing those. Oh, and here's a bunch of VCRs of those same films that were converted back in 1990s. My aunt had done it and sent them to my mother. Some go back to 1939, 1941, 1944. So these are old films. And it would be wonderful to start cutting those up, sharing them with all of you. And my project, The Journeyman, continues. Well, that's it. That's the box. Thanks for opening it with me, and I look forward to going through all of this and being able to add it to my own story and the search of truth. God bless.